what was one of like the most memorable places that you remember and you'll definitely want to go back?
A pizza place that I had been there, they offer like a pizza of 1 meter or a half meter. It's like
Oh,
so
not
IDEX
bad.
is basically organized by Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force. Ideally, I will say a lot of exposure came from that club only. Otherwise, I would
Okay.
have been a decent mechanical engineer only. Never have exposed to robotics, AI.
Oh, this is interesting, man. That many people don't do this, right? You prioritized
Career
health
over.
over work.
Awesome, man. So then finally, uh, when did you decide that, okay, I've had enough of this experience at CMU and then I have to move on to other things? Like, what was your thought process and take us through that?
Oh man, that's okay. There are two aspects behind it. So one is like COVID hit. I was in
Right,
CMU and COVID hit at that same time, and
right.
everywhere it was like you cannot go outside. So many like cases are raising in US, and at the same time my visa was expiring
Ah,
because it was
Hmm.
the visa
lockdown. I
problem.
was yeah, the visa issue. I was not able to stay in US. I had to come back to India.
Right.
So, and literally I traveled in that Vande Bharat plane.
Oh,
Uh,
damn.
Acha,
oh yeah,
COVID wala.
COVID wala. Yes.
Yeah.
Damn, man. Okay, so just kind of got back in the nick of time. If not, it'd probably be standard for a very long time. Yeah, awesome. And then?
Yeah, and then I actually decided that I will spend 1 year in India only.
Okay.
Probably because already I was working with Hovi and some part of the project was still pending. But he
Hmm.
allowed
Right.
me that you can work from India, but he was not able to fund me because I am
Okay.
in India and the US
Right.
government rules don't allow.
Hmm.
So I decided, okay, that's a good option. Even though I'm in India, I can work and I can do. So he allowed me that you can attend the meetings which are possible in India and US time zone.
Hmm.
So I that was like a convenient option. So after coming back to India, at least for 4 5 months, I worked with him. But the project got ended, paper got published. Then I decided that okay, now is the time to take some next steps rather than just
Hmm.
continuing the same research. So I was thinking like, okay, I should apply for my master's. That's the first target because I had to go for it in next year. So along with that, I thought that okay, there has to be something that I should do rather than just sitting at home. So I started looking out for startups which will offer me some job or at least some work which is in AI
Hmm.
because I have the same experience. I didn't want to go for any random position. I wanted like the same profession should be there. So
Hmm.
again, I started looking out for jobs, and then I eventually landed in Uplara, met Abbhinav. That
Yeah.
thing has happened. Yeah, so that's how the journey started um with
Your
India.
industry work. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with
I'm
the industry
wondering,
work.
you said startups. Why startups?
Yeah, so mainly initially I was skeptical that even if the large organizations will consider me because
Hmm.
one of the thing that I have always heard from it's not like I haven't applied, but what I experienced is everyone was very skeptical or curious about this 2 year internship experience. They either
Hmm. Hmm.
understand the masters or they understand that you are a fresher, but they
Hmm.
don't. They were not able to understand this middle part, like an
Right.
internship. Everyone was even asking, like, there are a few HR who have asked me, do you have a certificate or do you have some
Right.
degree from that? And I was like,
Yeah.
I have research papers which are all internet. The entire world can see those papers, but they were not
Right.
very impressed by that.
Hmm.
But eventually, I thought, okay, then let's not go for these organizations. Maybe they have some rules, they have strict guidelines. They are following that. Let's not
Right.
disturb it, or they will not change it for me for sure. So I thought, okay, let's give it a try to startups.
Got it.
And that's how I decided, okay, let's explore because I had only 6 to 7 months. And in that 6 to 7 months, startups will give me definitely give
Right.
me opportunity and learning curve will be more because in in
Sure.
organized fashion, they will give me some help.
Makes sense. And then, without putting any biases into your mind, how was your experience at Uplara?
Oh man. Yeah, I
I
mean,
think
That
so
the
old
there.
old
man said a
man,
lot of things.
yeah, the old man said a lot of things. But yeah, how was
Oh,
the startup life, the problems you worked on, the culture, your learning?
yeah. So with the Uplara, it was a crazy journey, I will say.
Hmm.
So there are definitely few good points and some of the points that I should take for my future life. So few things that I learned from his from the Uplara is like how actually real world problems are. Like I was till that time I was only working on the synthetic data. I was only working
Right.
on the research part, and
Hmm. Hmm.
academia is very restricted. They will only care about the papers. They will not go beyond the papers. They will not try to actually take the images or take the actual data from real life and then try their algorithms on it. Even though I was curious about it, but even professors also asked to get those restrictions. But this is something that experienced in Aplara, that we were actually capturing real world images. We were actually experimenting all these models on real world, and that's where I actually understand how challenging it is to use AI in real life and what
Mm.
problems could cause. Like in few minutes ago I mentioned that those lighting conditions and all this blur sharpness things affect, right? That's what I just heard from theory, or I just listened to my
Seeing.
advisor. Yeah, it was
Hmm.
just saying, but I actually experienced it in Aplara. Abhinav has also seen cases where people submit their photo with shadows on their faces, with shadows on their body, and then it gets very challenging to deal with such images. So that's one very important learning that I have understood, that the problem is not easy, even if it's a very small problem. It goes very challenging if you actually try to implement in real world.
Get all the
Right.
nuances, basically. Handle all the
Makes
edge
sense.
cases.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to add to that, it's basically the completeness of the product, right? There's just so much to when you transition from research to product, where you have to handle so many more things. Yeah, totally agree with you on that. What else?
Apart from that, I actually realized that how team culture is important and how the
Mm,
teamwork is important. So if the team is right, then you can actually develop your product. So actually, I was watching one lecture from an MIT professor. It's more on the business side. So he was explaining like, so the question was, is the idea important or the team important or the time important? And
okay.
every student answered that idea is the most important thing. But
Probably
with
not.
the time yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With the time he explained that the first most important thing is the right time, then second comes your team and execution, and then
Yeah.
it comes to your idea. So that's what I have learned from even from my experience at Aplara, even also my current organization Karza. If your team is not right, you won't be able to do it. If your culture is not right, that would be even more disastrous, because your team members will leave and then you will not have any other options. So that cultural gap is very important. And I can totally sense that gap between Aplara and Karza. So there's a
Mhm.
huge difference of culture.
So when you say
Right. Right.
culture, what is like the right culture as per you?
Hmm. So, okay, I think what I believe is there should not be a lot of hierarchy when it comes to technical discussions, when it comes to the technology part, because hierarchy creates biases. And what I have been experiencing in Karza is like, even when I joined for the in the first few months, my opinion was given the same weightage as the opinion which is given by someone who is working in Karza for 2 3 years. So
Right.
there was no bias in it. They were always ready to do experiments, and there was always like a strategy that they had.
Mhm.
okay, our main problem is this, then we had to deal with it in such manner. So everything was planned, and there was no direct restrictions. Even I had interactions with the CTO of the company, and the CTO was always curious that what you are doing. He wanted to understand what I am doing, and he was also ready to discuss papers with me. That was
Mhm.
something very exciting for me. Like, he was giving me time, he was actually discussing papers, he was giving new ideas, and we were actually implementing those, and
Right.
he was ready to listen to my ideas as well. It was never like a one-way communication where he is just telling me that, okay, you have to do this, and then I will do that only.
Makes sense.
And the workload and the work-life balance, man, that is very important, I feel. That is really great at Karza. The work-life balance is too good over here.
Yeah,
What
promotional content for Karza.
yeah. So work-life balance, when you say, right, like what, like for you, what exactly is work-life balance? Because
Yeah, before you just get into that, so I just had a little bit questions on the previous part. So I think one thing you raised was for technical,
Hmm.
you're saying for a technical discussion. I think you started off with that, saying that
Yeah,
for a technical discussion, having no hierarchy is very helpful.
yeah.
And so that basically brings two questions into my mind. One is who takes the final decision then? Is it like a consensus based thing? Uh,
Hmm.
because that could end up being very time consuming if you have to take a consensus and on like every single decision, or at what granularity do you do that.
Hmm.
That's one. And second is, do you, in your experience, is it such that for non-technical discussions, maybe and by technical I presume you mean like uh, specific,
More
like,
on the data science or more on the
right,
core product side. Yeah, yeah.
right. So for non-technical discussions, maybe like business strategy or something like that, should there be a same non-hierarchical model?
Um, okay. I don't have a huge experience in non-technical aspects,
Hmm.
but I do feel that a little bit of hierarchy is fine. Like, there are some managers, and then there are some people who are actually working under them in non-technical aspects. That is fine. Still, I won't believe that there's a huge hierarchy should be there. Like, uh, very big organizations like maybe TCS and Infosys, they have a huge hierarchical structure. I think that is not required because, at least in startup domain, that helps for to grow the startup. That's my belief, totally. And about the second question that you mentioned is, sorry, I just forgot. Can
Consensus
you?
based. So
Yeah, the
strategy or
consensus base.
anything, basically.
Yeah, so uh, what I feel is, yeah, definitely consensus based will take time. So the way that how we work is like, initially we define the problem statement, then we uh, go through different literature. We do not implement anything at the start. We initially do discussions on different ideas. Out of that, if even if 3 to 4 people, so let's say there are 6 to 7 people in the team, and 4 to 5 people have faith in one of the idea, then we'll go with that idea. We'll experiment it. But if there's someone who has a very strong opinion and who has a very strong resistance to that idea, then we'll give him a chance. Like, why you are so much against it, and why are what are the failures that he is looking in that idea? If we get convinced, if all of the people get convinced, then we'll definitely drop that idea. So that's how currently we are working on it. And I feel
okay,
with that, it gives, so it helps in two ways. One is like ruling out the ideas. We cannot, definitely we cannot implement all the potential ideas. We can only trim down to one or two.
hmm,
That is help. That help comes from there. And second is, there are sometimes some new ideas also appear.
right.
So because we are discussing, someone thinks out of out of the box and comes with a new idea, and that helps in making the product even better.
Hmm.
So
Makes sense.
fundamentally, I
But
think it's a trade-off, right?
yeah, that's what I was saying.
Between
So, um,
Yeah.
what granularity though would these discussions be at? Like on a high level, whether to implement an idea or not, it's I think perfectly fine to discuss with the entire team. But if you are like going to a much like more fine-grained level where
Mm.
you're saying that, hey, uh, should I be looking at like an X activation function, or should I be looking at some very specific feature?
Yeah.
You probably don't like. How do you handle those discussions?
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, on the decisions where there's a very fine granularity, like activation functions, you don't have to discuss it among the entire team. That's what you can definitely try and explore. And these are like the skills that everyone should possess, or these are the skills that is expected in a job. But higher level decisions, like let's say there are four ideas which can solve the same problem. Let's say
Hmm.
if I say face recognition that I'm currently working on, and we have to improve our model, let's say for Indian faces.
Okay.
Now, do we go with paper one, paper two, paper three, or do we want to try another idea that has come into my mind? What we want to try out, this should be discussed. Like there will be very small details, like what should be the hyperparameters, what should be the data set. All those don't need to be discussed among a lot of members. This should be a decision who owns that project.
Basically,
Right.
it's a trade-off between agility and harmony, right? Like essentially,
Yeah.
you need to know when to draw the line,
Yeah.
or when basically not having a discussion is hurting the team itself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. Kind of like, yeah, absolutely makes sense. So you basically, you're, at least in many of the startup scenarios that you're talking about, for everything in between, you have the freedom, but for big picture things, you kind of look at the consensus. Makes sense. Cool.
So actually, you've been talking about that, right? So let's just touch upon that. Like, talk about Karza. Like from Uplara, how did you like what? How did you find out about Karza, and what is it about?
Yeah. So actually, after there's a gap between that. So I have after Aplara, I haven't directly transitioned to Karza. After Uplara, I so even after okay, actually there's a huge story. Um,
That's what we want to hear.
okay.
If you want to talk about Rohan, also we are fine with it, man. No problem. See, I don't know the guy.
I think there is an official contract which says that for at least until a year within the whole thing, we should not be bad mouthing the company. And I don't know. He made, I think, most of us sign that kind of a end closing
Yeah,
contract, right? Yeah.
yeah.
See, you're not bad. I'm not. I didn't tell that you have to badmouth the company. That is your statement. I just said you can talk about the list.
I can relate to Abhinav's feeling.
I'm
And
immediately thinking what all I should edit out.
and रही बात एक साल बाद वाला वो like 1 year वाला contract की you never know when the video comes out, man. It's okay. We're recording in 2024.
Yeah,
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 yeah. So I think in between you had like this whole
Yeah.
entrepreneurship part, right? Where you were
yeah,
trying to like figure out something on your own. What was going on
yeah.
there?
Yeah, so actually, after getting through Uplara, I thought that okay, I should explore more and I should do my own startup and I should do something on my own. Eventually, I had figured out one of the idea as well. I
Mm-hmm.
found one of so Arun was my mentor at CMU. He had a friend in Mumbai, and we met. The synergies matched, and we decided that we should pursue. So
Okay.
he was experienced a lot in mechanical industries. He has developed a lot of machines, and also he sold them through a startup. Um, but he wanted to explore AI field. He
Okay.
wanted to go into some products that are actually involving AI. And I was already interested in AI applications, so I just thought, okay, we can try to explore. And we had come up with an idea. We actually discussed with a lot of people. His friends already had some big startups. One of his friend was is the founder of Hyperverge. Then one of his friend is already uh, founder of some bank, I guess. So digital banks that are growing nowadays.
Got it.
So we discussed with all of these people, and eventually we figured out that okay, the idea is right. We can definitely form the team, but the time is not right. If we
Okay.
felt that the problem statement or the idea that we are having is not going to be sold in the market right now. It will at
Mhm.
least take few more years to be in the market, and definitely somebody will develop it in future, maybe we or maybe some other startups, but this is not the right time to sell it in the market. So we
What
So
was
thought,
the
okay,
product
how
about?
did you like? Yeah, how did you come to this conclusion though?
What was the
yeah,
idea?
so the idea was about adversarial attacks. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I will give you an example. Like right now, you are sitting in this podcast and we are discussing all these things. But
Mm-hmm.
there can be AI algorithms which can actually create imposters. Instead of you, some other
Correct.
person can sit and maybe ask some personal details or some other details, and
We are
this
also going
can
to do
be.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But carry on.
Sure, I will keep a note of it.
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. So the idea was like how to protect the AI algorithms from such attacks. And there's actually a field which actually does all these
Yeah,
strategies
lot of
and all these
fun.
techniques.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So yeah, that was the main idea. And how we decided that the time was not right. So we did market research. In that we actually looked out for a lot of startups that are actually working on this field or in this problem statement. Do exist at least six to
No,
seven
so
startups
what was the idea? It was so adversarial attacks is a research area in general, right? So was the idea about preventing adversarial attacks, some method to do
preventing
that?
adversarial attacks, preventing
Okay,
them.
I see.
In some
I see.
specific domain or
So in we were thinking about finance.
I
finance?
see.
Okay.
And yeah, the reason being because India was growing digitally in the time of COVID, and lot of KYC verifications and all these things are happening digitally. So there was a
Mhm.
higher risk in that domain. So we actually narrowed down to finance, but there were already few other areas as well, like medical insurances could be there. Some
Mhm.
other insurances can also be there, but even military applications we were thinking of, but we felt that finance could be something which is very close to that phase.
Hmm.
Mhm. Also,
Um,
easy to get funds in finance.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
paisa VC, paisa do VC.
yeah.
Yeah, going to
Okay, like
Ashmir.
AI, ML, fintech,
सारे buzzwords एक
side
साथ
Buzzwords.
buzzwords.
दूसरे फेंक दिए वो कोविड के टाइम पे तो एकदम मतलब सोने पे सुहागा टाइप से एकदम.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Uh,
what was your market research like, which kind of told that hey, this is not the right time?
hmm. So we did two things. One is we discussed with lot of entrepreneurs who are actually having their startups, who are actually in this particularly fintech domain.
Okay.
And we also the company that I mentioned, Hyperverge, they
Yeah.
already do KYC verifications. They are in fintech domain. So we discussed with their CTO as well. And along with that, we what we did is we looked out for the startups that are actually working in this field, or maybe trying to solve this problem in some way. Not maybe their entire product is on that side, but maybe some portion of that product.
Hmm.
We found out that there are two things. One is like there are startups who are whose founders are like some big professors or like some people who are really big shot who can get funds and people already trust them. So those are actually putting efforts in these problem statements. And second is companies like Microsoft and Google, and again that was not their main focus. That was like a side project which could be helpful in the future or going further. That was their main focus. And even the startups that we were looking at, they were not selling those products, they were just doing the research. They were focusing on some other products, and this was like the side research that they were doing. So one of the, even I'm not able to recall the name of that startup. So that startup is basically an Indian startup. They are doing deep fake detection. So even if you give a video, they can detect deep fake, if it is a deep fake or not.
Mhm.
But we discussed with their CEO, with their CTO, and their opinion was it's very hard to sell that product. Right now, everyone in the market feels that, oh, deepfakes, we don't care about them right now.
Okay.
And few people have opinion that in the last 1 or 2 year, we haven't seen even a single case of deepfake. So we are not concerned about it right now. So that's how we found out that okay, this is not exact timing where we can sell this product.
Got it. I'm just wondering, Vineet, so privacy in general probably is not given as much importance in India. But did you perhaps get in touch with some US based startups? Uh,
But Europe, for
Usually,
instance,
like
Europe cares a lot about privacy.
Europe cares a lot, but I don't know
Mhm.
about the European startup ecosystem. Like I'm more familiar with US may they care about it. Plus, I think there are a lot of companies who might potentially be in that space. Did you get in
Plus
touch
other
with them or?
areas.
Yeah, so we actually try to get into touch with US startups as well. But even what we found out is even their opinion is very similar. So
I see.
right now, what they are doing is they are researching on this problem statement, but along with that, to generate revenue, what they are doing is they are selling some strategies to generate edge cases. They are selling some strategies to test their current AI algorithms
Okay.
and giving advice or giving consultation. So in a way that the startups can improve their AI models.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that is their another way to attract the customers or attract the clients
Got it.
and generate revenue.
Got it. So it's sort of like a long-term vision still largely. Okay. Because usually, I mean, the optimist in me says that, hey, if the big companies are looking at it, if professors are actually, there's always going to be somebody with domain knowledge and money. But if there's an opening in the field, then there is promise, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, that makes sense. That
So this was when you guys decided not to pursue this right now, right? Then what?
Yeah.
Then Karza happened, or was it something else?
Yeah. So at that time, there were actually scenarios happened. I also had an option to go for masters as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I also had an option to go for Karza. And I finally decided to go for Karza. Um, so yeah, actually, even that was like a thing. I never actually had a decision that I will go for job. I was
hmm,
still in the mindset of either a startup or a masters.
Mm-hmm.
So
So this
startup,
one you mentioned this, right? So when you said that you had an option to go for masters, like where all did you have a master's admit from?
I had an admit from Arizona State and
Mm-hmm.
University of Texas, Dallas, and
Mm-hmm.
also WPI from Boston.
Not PR from Boston. And then why did you choose to not follow these? Because they're good colleges, right?
Yeah, yeah. I almost had finalized to go to ASU. I was almost in Delhi for the visa, and on the same day of visa interview, I just didn't appear the interview. So it was my
Right.
health actually. There are a lot of health concerns that made me take this decision to not go to masters.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the health part, I preferred health over this masters, and I thought, okay, I think I should stay back.
Well, this is interesting, man. That like many people don't do this, right? You prioritized
career
health
over.
over work, career, health over
Yeah.
career, basic health to career, right? That you even gave up multiple admits. Like people usually try to get one admit, you gave up multiple admits, and because of health. What was the reason? Like why so?
Yeah, so actually, I have an autoimmune condition.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give a slight idea, it's basically your own immunity cells attack on your own body, and that's the condition that I have. And what happens is like my immunity cells should. So in general, people it ranges between 0 to 100.
Okay.
Those cells are at the range of 60,000 in my body, so it causes huge problems
Hmm.
on my skin. So it basically makes my skin extremely dry, and I
Got it.
have to always keep myself hydrated. And if you look at the weather in US, it's very dry. Either it's very cold and dry, or on the other side, it is very hot and dry.
Hmm.
Even Arizona is a desert, so again, very dry, extremely hot. And same the situation in Pittsburgh. I actually had suffered a lot on in terms of health when I was in Pittsburgh.
Mm.
So looking at these scenarios, I was in much of a confusion. Should I go for masters or should I stay back? And during all this period, I was going for multiple treatments. I even did some treatments in India, tried some in US. All the medicines were prescribed to me were steroids.
Hmm.
And I had suffered a lot of problems because of steroids. So basically, with the steroid, your weight gain happens,
Right.
your sleep cycles are disturbed. So,
Hmm.
and this will happen in the starting phase. But as you go on taking steroids, basically, you will be prone to other problems. Like you will easily catch these infections. I
Hmm.
had catched multiple times fungal infections, which were not be able, like which were not required for me at that stage. I was young. I was
Mm.
at only 24, 25, and I was catching those infections. I was prone to diabetic conditions if I continue the steroids. So all these scenarios made me aware that okay, this is the problem that I need to resolve first, and then
Right.
maybe I can think about masters or maybe going to abroad, or then I can take the final decision about my career.
Mm.
Even with this problem, health problem, it's like you cannot have a lot of stressful life.
Hmm.
If your life is extremely stressful, then your problem gets worsened because you are
Hmm.
mentally not stable. And that's what I actually experienced. Initially, I was thinking, okay, this is a joke. Why it will affect my health? But though the days when I was low, I was not feeling that I'm not going in the right direction. Those days were the worst for my health as well. And the days when I spent time with my friends, with my family, and I was not focusing on the career thoughts, those were like some good days that I had. And that's how I
Okay.
realized, okay, the stress is definitely has some factor
Trigger.
with it. Yeah.
Basically, so didn't it bother you like these kind of opportunities? You might not get them again, and or you make peace with it, or you were confident that no, no matter what, like this is important, so I'll do this. Other things will follow.
Yeah. So initially, I was very confident that okay, I can drop this opportunity. I can spend 1 or 2 year, and I can go back to US. I can do my masters. That's not difficult for me because I already have this papers. I have all this experiences. Uh, but it's easy to think like this at that time of taking the decision. But after taking the decision, I stayed back in India. I joined Karza. After that, after few months it hit me like okay, what I'm doing with my life. I'm not moving anywhere and I'm just like doing this regular work every day, and at the same time my health was also not improving in any direction. So eventually what happened is I decided to change the treatments. I was already on allopathy for almost 6 to 7 years, and
Mm.
it was not helping me. The steroid problem got introduced, and I thought that okay, I am not going to take steroids at all. So finally, I decided at one day that okay, I don't have to go for steroids, I have to stop them. So, what is the alternate way? I started looking out. There are few suggestions. Few were like to still continue with the allopathy, but not taking the steroids. And this condition is called as topical steroid withdrawal. TSW is like a very famous word if you look out for
Right.
dermatology.
Right.
Um, but I wanted like I had to stop all this allopathy medicine and I have to come get fully recovered from it. So few recommendations were also towards Ayurveda and homeopathy. Eventually, I'm not a person who can drink all these kadhas and all these medicines. So I decided, okay, I will go with homeopathy. I already know one of the doctor with whom I was already taking some medicines for my cold problems or some normal fever problems. So I went up to him, and he told me that, okay, we'll start the treatment. So that time I was already working with Karza, and I decided this that okay, I will stop all the steroids, I will stop all the allopathy medicines. But that 1 week was horrible. So
Mm.
I stopped all the medicines and I shifted to homeopathy. But my body was literally addictive to those medicines. It's literally like addiction of an alcohol. It's similar for me that addiction of all these medicines.
Withdrawal
All the
symptoms?
yeah, withdrawal symptoms, a lot of withdrawal symptoms, and I was in a state that for the whole week I was not even able to get up from the bed. I literally applied for the leave for a week, and I was on completely bed. So that was the time when I was like feeling really down. Like, did I make the right decision of staying in India? Maybe the doctors in the US might be even better. All these thoughts were coming into my mind. Finally, I went through it. It was tough time, definitely. Eventually, after that week, we realized that I cannot completely stop all these medicines right now within a week or within a day. It's a process and it will take some time. So
Hmm.
what we did is we initially stopped all the steroids that are in the form of lotions or creams, and that's the first stage that I tried out. So for after that, and the rest of the medicines I was taking from there. So for 1 month, I was stable. I was able to survive, not having a huge withdrawal symptoms. There were definitely withdrawal symptoms, but homeopathy was helping me in it. And
Mm.
eventually, this treatment continued. So now it's almost been 7 to 8 months that I'm into this treatment. I have stopped all the steroids, no oral steroids, no topical steroids, and totally stable without it. Second thing that happened is I already have reduced the dosage of other medicines that I was taking. They were
Mm.
almost twice a day, and now it's once in 36 hours. So that's again huge difference, and also huge lifestyle changes.
Mm.
So I think Abhinav can definitely correlate it. I was at 106 or 102 in weight, and right now
Mm.
I am at 82, I think. Right.
Nice. And
Yeah.
this was over what, 6 to 8 months, is it?
Yeah. So basically steroids will gain weight, and that weight reduces drastically. There's no risk in it. So if you are
Mm.
on a steroids, your weight will increase rapidly, and if you stop them, your weight will also decrease rapidly, and it won't harm you in any way. So
Mm.
from 100, it dropped to 90 within 2 to 3 months. But from
Mm.
90 onwards, it wasn't like the weight due to steroid.
Mm. It was
But I
natural.
joined. It was the
Mm.
natural weight gain.
Mm.
There are also reasons behind it. So because of these steroids and all these conditions, I was more prone towards sweets. I was more prone towards eating fast food. All
Mm.
this is now I have stopped it. I have completely cut down sugar, not having tea and coffee and all this lifestyle things I have maintained. Now the weight has got reduced and feeling much better even without steroids. I can travel anywhere in Maharashtra, even in India. And now I am confident that I can come out of this situation. And even definitely, still, I feel that it will take 2 to 3 years ahead, not like in
Hmm.
1 year. But I am confident that after 2 to 3 years, I will be in a state that I can travel to any location in world.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Then the weather won't be the problem.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
tough journey, man, because normally, I mean, just navigating, I mean, our podcast is not just about career, right? There is person is much more complete, and navigating all these aspects of it, like amplifies the achievements in the career, in fact, right? So awesome. I hope you like recover from it and feel much better. So you're saying, so right now, basically, the best climate for you is sort of like humid, so like Mumbai and like coastal regions and things like that.
Yeah.
And awesome. and then you're also able to travel elsewhere. I mean, so the thing is, I could not imagine the implications, right? That for travel, you made the statement right now that traveling without like taking steroids, traveling to different climate conditions. Normally, for most of us, we just don't think about that. We're
Yeah,
like wherever we want to go, right? So
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
like any kind of
Even
limitation is tough. Yeah.
Yeah, even one stage further, I will tell you. Few months ago, even I was worried if I have to travel through an AC train or an AC
Mm.
flight, because that AC causes dryness and my skin
Right.
again gets worse. And so all these things I have to think before traveling. I have to plan it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't
It's just
realize about these things like छोटे छोटे चीजें only when you experience it
yeah.
पता चलता
Even
है.
just one quick example, like
Mm.
uh, last week I was traveling to Nagpur and I had meet with my friends.
Hmm.
So usually you get to hotel and you eat anything that you like, you order anything, and if there's buffet breakfast, it's a whole lot of options.
Right.
When I've been there, I have allergies to a lot of things. So
Right.
Mm.
one of the thing, one of them is mustard seeds, and
Acha.
if
What
you can
seeds?
mustard seeds,
Mustard seeds. Okay.
Ah,
yeah. So if you can think about it, it's almost present in all the food items.
correct.
If you go
Correct.
into South India and if you go into Maharashtrian, mustard seeds is very common.
Yeah. तड़के में
So
वही
I
तो लगता है basically, right? No. Yeah.
exactly. So I am very highly allergic to mustard seeds. So always have to keep an eye. If there's a mustard seeds, I don't have to eat even a spoonful of it.
Right.
Even if I eat that curry or one spoon of that curry,
You
it's
flare
Mm.
up.
not good for me. So
Right.
I went to that hotel and I asked the chef which of the
Right.
things have mustard seeds. I have to avoid them.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
can't eat South Indian because of that, and I love dosas.
That's
Yeah, man.
yeah, man. I'm not sure how to respond to that, to be honest. I mean, I knew
Yeah.
about some of these issues from before you have told me, but then obviously, like when you explain it in more detail, then the weight of it is far more. I
Yeah.
hope obviously you recover from it.
Yeah, it's a
Awesome.
good progress. It was good to hear that you're making progress and already मतलब अच्छे आठ महीने में. Keep
Yeah.
us
But
posted,
I
man.
think,
2-3 साल में when you're looking forward to those वो travel stories डाल के
yeah,
like.
yeah. Actually,
Yeah,
I
I think
was.
your travel stories are going to be different and fun. Hashtag mustard day. And so on. Yeah, tell me, sorry, you're saying something.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking to write blogs on that
You
because
should.
Mm.
this problem is like very rare in India at least.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
slightly common in US. Many people
Mm.
have suffered through this, but in India it's very rare. So
Mm.
I have seen that very few people understand it, and those who understand, they are from medical field. That's why they realize
Mm.
the importance of this problem. So I actually have a thought that I will write some blogs so that everyone can understand what this problem is, and especially when it comes to the stress wala part,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
people usually don't understand this stress is so much correlated with the
Correct.
health issues. And
Mm.
then even like my friends usually say, why you are not waking up till late night, why you are sleeping so early, but
Right.
those sleep cycles help me. So
Right. Yeah,
all
yeah.
this I am trying to think that I should document it, I should do some blogs, and then that will help.
Definitely,
Yeah,
man.
Even there
you
are
Definitely.
should.
multiple things that I have done. Like in
Yeah.
the last few months, I have actually done badminton. Just now, I was telling Abhinav.
Yeah, badminton
So,
love.
oh, you are also badminton
I
player.
love badminton, man. That is one of my escapes. Like, बहुत मजा आता
Uh,
है.
that's amazing. I s-
Yeah.
so I will tell you, like I haven't even played badminton in my entire life. Last 6 months, I have started it, and now I'm like I will play it for the whole life, at least 1 hour
Yeah.
per day. That's the best exercise, and that's the best game that
Correct.
I felt. So,
Also, you got a good
I'll,
community, right?
yeah,
Friends and
Community, yeah,
whatnot.
and
So,
then see
sports
that's the kind
community
of
is
thing, right? If
always
you
encouraging.
you're enjoying basically any kind of workout which you enjoy doing, then it doesn't feel like a workout or a chore, right? Like I
Yeah.
play badminton, uske वजह से. Great cardio, but really don't feel exhausted or anything because of that because I'm enjoying it.
yeah. Even your focus also improves, your
Yeah.
Correct.
sportsmanship improves. So
Yeah.
initially I was, so as you rightly pointed out, I was on down phase, right? Because I dropped out all these opportunities. But when I played badminton, I realized that it's the same game applies to the life. So
Mm.
there
Mm.
are ups and downs in the game. Sometimes you lose points, sometimes you win the points, and that's the same with life. Sometimes you
Correct.
have to go back, and sometimes you
Correct.
will achieve.
और मजा तभी आता है जब कमबैक
Yeah.
मारते हो.
Yeah. No, man, this is something it's I also have, like not many people know about this, but I used to like I got introduced. I actually faced a lot of the problems that you're talking about, like the weight gain, all of that. I lost a lot of weight. So the one of the things which your sports say you
Not
learn
because
life
of
lessons,
steroids,
wala.
because of just eating.
The other thing, there were different factors. One of them was this, but the life sports and life lessons were a
Yeah.
relation, right? That was very interesting because for long distance running, like I got introduced completely or like randomly. Okay? I wasn't even planning on it. I didn't even know that it's a sport. Like running is a sport, like long distance, slow, jogging, wala.
Yeah,
And yeah, it teaches a lot of things about endurance, like not
yeah,
giving up, setting small goals so that you eventually
exactly.
it adds up to a big goal. It's very
True.
nice. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
very true. I think the other thing that you touched upon, right? Stress as a trigger,
yeah,
how much it is underplayed. So when you're young, right? So
yeah,
you have a condition that is diagnosed, and so for you, it's visible. What, like, the correlation is visible. For a
yeah,
lot of people, that it's not really visible until maybe 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, when they start getting into a lot of other health issues.
right.
And stress as a trigger is a very, very real thing, which I mean people should just not ignore. And so this autoimmune thing that you're talking about, so I have a similar condition for my, and I don't know how I developed it, right? So it's also basically an autoimmune condition, but
Hmm.
basically I forgot what it's called, but every time I have any kind of stress trigger, then my hair
Yeah.
would start itching a lot,
Oh.
right?
Hmm.
So I think over the last maybe 6 or 7 years, I've lost a lot of hair primarily because of this. And
Yeah.
so it's just like random stress triggers, and sometimes the stress would not necessarily just be from work or from like one, you just don't know what is kind of triggering. So I got this watch
Yeah.
recently. It's this
Yeah.
Garmin watch, and that actually tells me when I'm stressful from a lot, and it's very, very accurate, surprisingly accurate.
Wow.
So that actually tells me, and it correlates very high to the time when my hair starts
He was at a
itching.
basically when he
Oh.
was at a company whose name starts with you. One of the people name starts with
No,
R.
no, I think it started back in college. I thought initially it was just like I didn't know what it was, right? So I thought it was just because the water, like hard water, was there in Hyderabad, and I was not
Hmm.
really used to that, and that was the initial trigger. But then over the years, as you kind of research more and more that this should not be happening, like it's not normal. The doctor
Mm.
would give some lotion or something, and temporarily it'd be better, and
Yeah.
then again something would trigger it, and again it would come back again. So I think one of my major reasons, in fact, for like leaving the job was also to focus on health, a
Yeah.
lot like what you were saying, right? So I do relate. Obviously, it's not as extreme as you, where you have to go through much more challenges. Maximum, I go bald,
Mm.
which I am very
Yeah.
comfortable with. That doesn't affect me. But yeah, I do feel you, and hopefully it gets better, man. Hopefully it gets better.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Speaking of blogging, I think you're talking about blogging. I have seen some blogs of yours. Uh,
Oh,
uh,
which
Oh,
one?
actually, wait. Before we go to that, right? I'm curious because we are talking about the condition, so
yeah,
it's contextual to that. Wanted to cover this. How did you
yeah, yeah.
even discover that? How did you diagnose that you had this condition, the autoimmune one? Because you were saying in India it's
Hmm.
not very well understood, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So, yeah, while I was visiting doctors in India, they had like 2 to 3 options. So one of them is the same one, atopic dermatitis. But again, the same reason they were saying that it's not very common in India. So they
mhm,
were skeptical that this is the right diagnosis. So, but when I went to US, I actually
mhm.
visited a dermatologist in US, and he confirmed that okay, this is the autoimmune condition, and you have atopic dermatitis. So that's how I like finalized, like, yeah, this is the right diagnosis. And even after that, like I have seen the symptoms that are present in this similar patients. The symptoms totally match.
Mm,
So that's how I felt like, yeah, this is the thing, and I have that condition. Yeah, but uh, I mean, I have also looked out for multiple options. Like
mm,
I have seen different ways to treat this scenario. One of them is like there's one doctor in Europe. So what he does is like he will start with a very high dosage of steroids so that
mm,
you will feel very comfortable, and then he will over the period reduce them down. But at the beginning, the steroid level of steroids is too high. Even I thought of taking that medications, but if, that the basically that it didn't work for all his patients. Some of them have some good experiences that they cured completely, but some of them
mm,
have really bad experiences that it never that their dosage got increased, but it never dropped down.
mm, mm,
So I again got thought that okay, this is not the right direction because whatever steroids I'm taking, I will have to take more than that.
mm.
Yeah, I decided okay, no, no,
Makes sense,
don't
man.
go for
Makes
that
sense.
direction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man, there's so many things like you have to try, right? And
yeah,
I think obviously people who have issues, they realize that health is really important.
yeah,
But then,
Mm, cost also, because
yeah, later on
everything
in later on in life, I think it becomes very obvious. Life throws it at you that health is important,
yeah.
but
taking
only
time
if you
bomber
have health, you
basically.
can do anything else. That's the reality.
Yeah, it's reality that you will realize its importance when it hits you. Without that, you will
Correct.
not realize the importance. And I think
Correct.
in India right now, everyone is chasing like they are literally in a rat race. That's what I
Yeah, yeah.
feel. Even I was in that rat race. I'm not saying that I am someone special. I was in a part of it, but so I also had taken some counseling sessions, and after those counseling sessions, I realized that the once you go out of your bachelor's and once you go into your maybe in your master's phase or maybe in your job life, there's no competition between you and some others. The competition is only
Correct.
between you and yourself. You
Hmm,
have to grow yourself.
Correct.
So
correct.
that's how I realized that I was doing unnecessary competition because I was under that stress as well. Like,
Mm,
okay, like all of my friends are moving ahead in their career. They are doing masters. They are already having job in California. Probably they will
mm,
have how like their whole family in California. And I'm
mm.
still stuck here, not able to decide what I have to do further. But now I feel more comfortable that okay, I'm focusing on one thing and which should be the highest priority right now. So
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah, that clarity, it takes time to get that clarity, and that clarity comes at a cost. But glad that you have reached that stage, right? Awesome.
and I would say that one thing that I always feel like um so basically this getting into this clarity, I started reading Bhagavad Gita and also Mahabharata. So
Very interesting.
it has very important life lessons, but even now I feel that why I haven't read this when I was in maybe 10th or 11th or maybe even younger than that.
Mm,
And our schools should offer these kind of subjects, but definitely
true.
they don't offer it. But I do feel like this is a very important thing that you should learn about our culture, about our history, and especially the lessons that are given in Bhagavad Gita. They do help a lot.
Like what? Like something that struck you?
Yeah, sure. So, okay. Um, Let me find some good example. Yeah.
Dekho, we have the
So,
power of editing, to take your time. It's okay.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So, one of the example is like,
I just want to point out कि starting में बंदा nervous था, अब भगवत गीता का quotations देने वाला है. Anyways.
nothing as of a quotation. मुझे श्लोक
हाँ,
बिल्कुल याद नहीं है.
नहीं नहीं फिर भी go on.
Yeah. So I always had this thing in my mind कि सारी चीजें एकदम सही टाइम पे होनी चाहिए, and I should be rushing on that. Like I had a deadline for my masters. Like in this age I should complete my masters. I should have a job in US, or I should do some startup in US only, and then maybe then plan my future things. And eventually from 10th it happened. Like I thought of getting into some good college, it happened. I went to NIT. After that I thought of getting internships. It happened. I actually got into CMU. I never realized that there are situations where you have to take a step back and you will have to focus on other things. But Gita will tell you that no, there are some times when you have to take back just to achieve some other things, or just to achieve your ultimate goal of your life.
Hmm.
It's not always that the current goal is the right choice. Maybe
Hmm.
there can be some other goals. And also, uh, you have to do some works at some right time. So every work has some right time, and probably this was not the right time. That's that's what, and that made me calm, because otherwise I was so fragile that every day I had different thoughts. Every day I was confused that, oh, even I am not doing my startup, that's what I was planning for, what I am doing in this job. Apart from that, why I haven't been to US. All my friends are like having really great life in US, and I'm stuck here. But now all these readings, all these lessons made me calm. Now I'm able to think more with a more clarity, like what I want to do, how I want to plan it. Not only this part, but other aspects of life are also important. This is what I realized. Like health is one, marriage could be the other part, then
Speaking of
family
right
could be the
time.
next. Yeah.
Hmm.
So these are like different things that we totally forget while chasing the career. But these are definitely some important areas of life. And
Correct.
all this reading, all this counseling session made me realize that I did not even care about it till now. But now I should care about them.
Yeah, my advisor back in college in Triple IT, Professor Avinash, he used to, apart from being a technical advisor, he was also a, sort of like a half philosopher, and often we'd have these
Wow.
kind of discussions, which would go like through the evening. We'd sit at like 4 p.m. and there'd be several times where we'd be so deep into discussion that we'd forgot it, the it would have become dark. We'd have not turned on the lights, but we'd be so engrossed in the discussion that we'd be talking in the dark. uh, so he used to tell this one thing that you should always have some school of thought that you subscribe to. It need not necessarily be, religious per se, but it should be some school of thought, some set of principles that you should subscribe to, whether it's some Buddhist thoughts,
Hmm.
whether it is Gita. I mean, he was at least from what I remember, he was a follower, of course, of the Gita, but
Wow.
he was of this very strong opinion. And the more I kind of mature in my own thought process, the more I realize how profound his words were, because several times you need something to refer to. Like how long will you be referring or asking your friends, your parents, you need some other alternate source of knowledge apart from
Yeah.
just experiences. And often the same words, different people can interpret it in different ways,
Hmm.
which also helps. So all these things kind of bring back those memories for me. And awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true. You kind of have to step back to have much more of a holistic view of life.
Yeah. Even one more example is like if you look at Mahabharata, there is a situation where Arjun got like really confused if he
Hmm.
should fight or not.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
if he is fighting, then he will be killing his own relatives.
correct.
So, like that is the time when Krishna actually helped him
Gita.
yeah, Gita helped him like what decision he should take. And then I realized that okay, it's not like we as a common people are getting these situations of confusions, like what option to choose or which path to take. Even people like Arjun has got these confusions, and
Sure,
they followed Gita and to get the right path. So that's
sure.
also
Hmm.
one thing I feel. about Gita.
Great, man.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
So actually, at this point, we've discussed about so many different things. इस point पे topic switch करना थोड़ा weird होगा, but let's just cover it for the sake of completeness, and then we'll stop because we've been going for quite some time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
this.
Actually,
Mainly,
like this, the second half is more interesting to me than the first half because my personal inclinations have become more towards, the second half of our discussion as opposed to like 3D research and whatnot, right? So
uh,
very relevant. Anyways, yeah, go
badminton
ahead.
for me, कोई बात नहीं.
Yeah, we can discuss about badminton after this
Yeah,
as well, man.
अरे वो I had a fanboy moment में साइना नेहवाल के साथ फोटो लिया था. That's the thing I put on
Oh.
Insta पे भी. Yeah, उसका एक अलग ही story है. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's one thing I miss because काफी मतलब I used to play, and then because of work again. See, I actually have gone through. Actually, all three of us have basically gone through similar realizations. मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा stress ले रहे हो एक चीज पे, and then it's affecting your health वगैरह. Knock on effects है. We realize the importance of things. बाकी चीजें हैं. Yeah, over time
Yeah.
होता है.
So
Naturally.
how many years did you play badminton?
So I actually started learning triple A back in college. So it was,
Oh,
You had a
and
very
I
active
sucked at it.
badminton group.
Yeah. I mean, the court was थोड़ा सा questionable क्योंकि open air types था, or not exactly open air, but वाला type था. But the seniors played well,
Yeah.
and they sort of like I sucked at it. I was just starting, and I played, and then even but to say you interact with people which with you would not have interacted with. जैसे रावत अपने dean थे, so he was also Rawat. He was super fit for his age, and he also had like काफी सारे views and all. But even as a play sports के time पे we actually interacted. One I would not have. I had no reason to interact with them apart from that.
For a
And
professor, I must tell you,
yeah,
Vinit, like I'll send you some photographs of his. For a professor and somebody who's like, I don't know, probably he must be 40 at that time. You know,
I'm not
I'm
sure. Maybe
guessing
more. Yeah,
maybe more. My God,
I'm
like
sure.
that man was
Super fit,
just so aesthetic, right?
athletic,
I
proper
felt
athletic.
like often he's like, these ballet dancers, and
Uh,
he was just so elegant and oh my
oh.
God. But yet
But
like quite fearful. He had this fearful persona. He had this deep voice and oh God. Must
Commanding
be quite
person. I
pop.
wouldn't say fearful, but yeah, basically someone
Yeah.
who with some gravitas. You just don't
Yeah. Yeah.
ignore. Okay.
actually, even I know someone who is having similar profile. Like he's at his 42 or 45, and he's a
Hmm.
doctor. And
Mm,
he mentioned that he started running since I think his master's degree. So probably at
Hmm.
the age of 25, 26.
mm.
And now he's running 40 kilometers per week. And
Yeah.
if you look at
Nice.
his body, he doesn't look like a 40-year-old person.
Yeah. Awesome.
Actually, this
Yeah,
is
40
another
kilometers a week. Oh
conversation,
my God,
man.
that's a lot.
Basically,
My
this is
my
something
even
that
at my peak, like 10, 12 kilometers a week, and I'd be like I'd be really at my bones would be hurting and I'd be like I need like a few days break. I gotta do something else. Man, nice.
Yeah.
I was doing more than you by then. I was running for
No,
almost 35
no,
kilometers per week.
I mean 12, 10 kilometers per week, consistently for a year, not like 30 kilometers 1 week and then 6 months break.
No,
Okay.
6 months break. I was running consistently only. I was running every alternate day, 10K almost.
I mean,
Almost.
you've done it a couple of times. That's it, but not like very
नहीं,
consistent over long
basically it was
periods of
towards the
time.
end of like just before COVID
Not
hit.
for
I was
long
super
periods.
उस
Long
time
periods
पे
of time,
था
it's not sustainable.
1.5 months ऐसा कुछ
You
yeah.
got to build up
Okay.
towards it.
But anyways, like a lot of things that we can discuss about. But one thing just we'll touch upon and then we'll call it a day. Like mainly it was about yeah, you were तब से try कर रहे थे. You were trying to talk about it, but we'll get to it. Like tell us about Karza. What is it? How and what do you do there?
Oh, yeah. So, Karza, I have been working on face recognition problem. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's basically Karza is fintech, and what they offer is like all the digital services like KYC verifications, litigation, and all these aspects. My major role is involved in face detection, face recognition, and majorly I'm handling the AI part. All the software development is handled by another team, like Karza provides APIs. So what I
Hmm.
do is develop all the AI models, maintain the code, and software team basically wraps up their source code, API code on these models. So
Right,
since
right.
last 1 year, I'm on that part only. So this particular problem has its own challenges. Like initially when I joined, I felt that face recognition, it's already a solved problem. Many of people told me it's already a solved problem. Why you are even doing this? But when I actually went and I saw like the KYC cards, like the Aadhaar card, the PAN card, if you look at the faces on those cards, you
Real world
won't be able
distribution.
to. Yeah, exactly. Real world distribution, and it's hard to generalize, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
And usually we get is like one of the PAN card or Aadhaar card, and the second is the selfie. So
Mm,
two challenges. One is the quality of the Aadhaar card or PAN card, and other is like age difference. All the photos on Aadhaar card and PAN card are like in
right,
the younger age, and now the
Mm-hmm.
selfie is at age of 30, 35. It's hard to match them.
right,
Mm-hmm.
There, like I have cases like where even a human cannot identify if it's is the same
right.
person or not. It's that
Yeah,
difficult.
right.
Possible,
Yeah, this is
possible.
the trusted right
Yeah.
photos on Aadhaar are
Yeah,
like from
I
long
didn't
back.
actually think about. So when you said face recognition, even I had a very similar opinion that it looks quite solved. Like what aspect are you addressing? But the age aspect is very interesting.
So that's
Yeah.
one aspect.
Yeah.
Even I will tell you one more interesting aspect is like kinship. So
Mm,
kinship is like family relations. So
mm,
let's say you and your father, or maybe you and your sibling.
mm.
Many of the times siblings have similar face structure,
Right.
and because we only take the cropped face,
Correct.
most of the other features that can distinguish that it's a male or female, they went out.
Mm,
And now it
Mm-hmm.
becomes very challenging to identify these are siblings or these are the same person.
right.
Acha. And even like what about twins one? Twins के case में
Oh,
it will
we,
I
not
think
be a
so.
big
it's
problem.
a
I
age
mean, it's
guess.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not possible.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I'm
how
just
do you solve
wondering,
the kinship thing?
yeah, go ahead.
Kinship wala?
No, no one has totally solved that problem. So there are two aspects. One is like let's consider it as a opposite gender kinship case where one of
Mm-hmm.
them is male and other is female. In that case, it is slightly easier because the gender is a highlighting information, and you can somehow track that information and decide that this can't be same person. But
Right.
in case of the same gender, like father, son, or maybe brothers, it's very difficult. It's
Right. Right.
very
Right.
hard to identify such cases.
So you're kind of linking the Aadhaar PAN and saying that, hey, this all belongs to the same person? Is that the idea?
So basically,
And
when
selfie?
you apply, okay, so I will tell you the exact application. So
Mm,
let's say you are running a bank,
mm,
and some customer, let's say Debayan is like applying for account.
mm.
He submits.
Rejected. Huh.
Oh man.
So
Anyways,
funny.
yeah. Let's assume
Okay,
he's still applying.
so
He's determined.
Yes.
He wants the account.
yeah,
Huh.
Yes. We want to go through
he
Karza.
RBI will not allow Abhinav this thing. Yeah. So
Hmm.
he will give his PAN card, Aadhaar card, and his selfie.
Okay.
Now, what you will do is we will provide APIs where you can upload any two of them. Maybe let's say Aadhaar card and his selfie. What will given back is like how much percentage this person looks this is the same person. So
Okay.
let's say we
Confidence,
give
basically.
confidence.
Personal
Yeah.
confidence.
Yeah. So percentage of confidence, and we also give a decision if we think that it's the same person or not. So
Hmm.
clients can use both. They can either put a thresholds on the percentage of confidence or otherwise the decision.
Okay.
So basically, this is one of the service for face match. There are other services like name match. So you have a
Mm,
name on your Aadhaar card or PAN card, and
sure.
you also fill up the form. Similarly, for sign verification,
Right.
all these are there.
So major customers would be basically, I presume a lot of these financial institutions who ask for these KYC
Yes.
documents, and those are the
Yes.
guys.
Yes.
Okay.
all the loan lending institutions, then organizations like Paytm, Google Pay,
Right.
these also do KYC verifications.
KYC. Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Right.
And I'm
So
just wondering.
basically, Karza works on KYC verification. That's the major like component of
More,
the thing.
so that is one of their highlighting product. They call it as total
Acha.
KYC. There is
Mm-hmm.
there are also another aspects like let's say insurance companies have lot of data
Mm-hmm.
and claims. But all these claims you cannot go manually through them, and these are all tables. So how can you extract all those tables and make it into a digital format and then give it back to the insurance company so that it can easily analyze it? So
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
all this processing can be done through AI, and this is also one of the service that Karza is providing. So this is all in all the insurance companies like medical, then car insurances and house insurances.
Mm-hmm.
Now they
From
are
paper
also
to
look,
basically digital form, right? From
yeah, paper to
mm.
digital form, exactly. Now they are also looking at litigation part, but I'm not like totally aware of it, like how they are approaching, what they are doing over there. It's just in the beginning stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. This whole matching of the face and then understanding the person identity is just bringing this thought into my head that perhaps Aadhaar should evolve, or maybe I don't know, like with regards to data privacy and breaches and all, but potentially you could always have like a person's voice signature plus a video of them plus I
No,
don't
but
know, like.
other, I actually have a question right here because when you were talking about this, so recently when I was going through an airport with the digital, I think it's called Digital Sky, Digiyatra, sorry, Digiyatra is the
Hmm.
Okay.
thing, right, where your
Yeah.
faces can be used to enter the airport without the ear. So that is essentially doing the same thing, right? So and it's a real world thing because you're going at an airport, the lighting is not fixed. I mean, their constraints are lower because it's still a little controlled environment, but
It's not doing the same thing. They ask you for
it's a
a
face
scan.
recognition, right?
No, they ask you for a scan of your face when you're registering. So you're still
Yes.
at the same. Like its only difference would be perhaps like age. The age factor has gone out of the picture, right? The rest
Hmm.
of it is like you're at. It's just maybe difference in clothes. Maybe you have more beard or facial features matching. It becomes. There's no other constraints involved.
Yeah.
When
No,
you sign
age
up,
it will still be a problem, right? Because you have scanned when you were setting up Digiyatra, but over time you still have to use the same app. They
But
doesn't ask you to rescan.
the
it
situation is
doesn't.
it
I
just
mean,
started now, right?
yeah.
So
That's also
everyone is
true. The
uploading
time
the
Yeah.
is.
selfie right
Exactly.
now.
Yeah.
After 10 years, it will face the same problems.
Yeah.
Hmm. So actually, this is one question I have, right? Because you're talking about these things. How does Karza come to know these challenges? Data, how does it get? Because Karza is also a new company, it's a startup. Where does it
Yeah.
get this all of this data, potentially sensitive data from?
So yeah, we actually are not like, so data is like a big challenge, definitely.
Hmm.
And particularly all these personal identity cards are at a very big risk.
Hmm.
So there's already a huge data sets available in on open source. So if
Hmm.
you search for one of the data is Glint 360K, it's a huge data. 17 million images are there.
Hmm.
Okay.
So right now we are not worrying about the data part. We do have it. Also, apart from that, we actually have contacted our clients and asked them if they can get consent from their end customers or end users, and they can provide that data. So that's how we are trying it. But the open source data is readily available. We are using that one for now.
So that is what, just images of people or like or
Images of people.
What
images
is
of
the
people.
data's name again? What is it?
Glint
In
360K.
Len.
Glint, Glint.
Oh, Glint
Yeah.
360K. So this is what? This is Indian like population ka data or something like
So
that?
it's such a huge data that there is different distributions according to ethnicity. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely a large chunk from US, then comes the Europe, and then the Asia.
Achha, I
Yeah.
see.
But yeah, out of 17 million, a very small portion of India. Mostly celebrities. So there are some ways by which we can, because it's a face recognition, no? So
Right.
And you can
if you take any,
synthesize it also.
no, not synthesize. What I was going to say is, let's say you can download Shah Rukh Khan's photo from online or internet, and you can search through the entire data set if Shah Rukh Khan's photo is present in that data, because you
Correct.
have the face recognition model. And that's how we actually figured out that a lot of Indian celebrities are present in that data set.
Hmm.
Like Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan, all are there in that
Mm.
data.
Right, right, right.
Quite
You
some
had one
effort, man.
question, Abhinav. Yeah, I have another question, but I'll go after the one that you say.
What was my question regarding? At which point?
I don't know. You were saying something. I started asking a question that time. Oh, you don't
That
have a
always
question. Fine.
happens. That always
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
You're just like, hey, you say what you want to say. Answer this first. I think so. No, my earlier thing was not a question essentially, but I just feel like Aadhaar should kind of evolve, where
Yeah,
we should perhaps have a much more larger signature. I think smartphones are there with most people now, so
yeah,
having voice plus video plus maybe some key, like each person they say has their own structure when they walk, right? Like their
yeah.
walking gait is different, and so I think these like component combination of 3-4 items can perhaps form a very unique signature for a person, which perhaps does not vary too much over age also, I presume. Maybe your voice varies a little bit. Yeah.
Gait will vary. Voice
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little
Gait,
bit.
I guess.
Yeah.
Gait, I guess.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
to be honest, like I remember reading an interview with, I forgot his name, the doctor, the person who's helming basically a lot of the work for UADA. So he was
Mhm.
mentioning this about this that they have actually considered all of these different authentication methods or modalities, and they actually chose this because of different considerations. For instance, you also have to think about like Aadhaar is meant to be used across India, right? Pan India, and
Mhm.
especially in rural areas. So
Mm.
so even collection of such a sense, like to get the data to even match to authenticate, first you have to collect it, right? You have to have a sensor there, you have to get it there. So it's a huge
Yeah.
challenge. And then there are
Yeah.
certain things which are easily faked, like voice is relatively easy to fake. So they consider a
Mm.
lot of this stuff, and even like they basically decided on what is the minimal thing, not minimal exactly, but what is like the right
Ready
trade-off
available
between
across India.
Yeah.
how much you can
But
get
I
away
think
with
the
while
way
still
the way
ensuring safety.
actually AI is moving, I do think most things can be got from from image or a video. I think most things can
Mm.
actually be got from that, and you don't have to use any single feature in individuality, right? It's always a combination of all of these, which will
No, no, no. But
perhaps be
then
something
videos are
more
easier to
robust.
fake also, right? We're talking about deepfakes. That's also one thing that they have to consider because your precision should be high. Recall could be like
No,
it could
deep
still be
fake. So I don't think video faking. I don't think it's going to be at that granular level. Is really that possible, right?
depends. We
Unless you
don't know.
train for that specific person, or like I don't think it's possible
Mm.
at that level, man. Like
But that is a
At least
each
now it
consideration.
is
person's,
not possible.
See, when
yeah,
you're talking
each
about an
person's signature is
identity,
just so, it's just so different, right? Each person's signature is so
yeah,
different.
but you're talking about an identity provider, right? So if
Yeah.
someone is actually, see, when you're an identity provider, your whole job is to make sure that
Hmm.
you're very certain that it is when you say yes, then it is that person. So even for
Yeah.
these edge cases matter a lot more in those applications than
Yeah,
regular
no, no,
applications.
100%. But so I remember there's this actually startup in Triple IT itself in CIE who were trying to in fact do this, where they were in fact focused just mostly on gate,
Hmm.
Mm.
where I think they had a couple of applications, but something one of them was gate for vaults or something like that. There are some very
Acha.
basically for like high security places or something.
Mm.
They
Acha,
had some
acha.
research saying that your gate is like very unique, and there are like some very minute features, and if you ask people to enact certain set of sequences, the way they will, the nuances of their enaction will reveal features which ensure that no other person
I
can kind of do it,
remember.
something like that.
I
So
Um,
remember Mission Impossible wala heist,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
exactly. I was
exactly.
going to say.
वही
They-
वही
He
करता है
actually
Tom
changed
Cruise.
the data.
Moscow में
Yeah,
okay
yeah,
yeah
Yeah.
Yeah.
But actually, yeah, interesting direction. I think.
So no, this is because my question is related to that, right? So
Mhm.
so what is different about Karza? Because I'm guessing this eKYC, it's essentially an eKYC provider.
Yeah.
Isn't that already being done by other companies?
Yeah, that's what I had felt initially as well. Like this is quite common, and many of the startups are providing it.
Mm-hmm.
But after joining Karza, there are few things that I realized. One is like, yeah, there are multiple solutions, multiple providers, but their solutions are not that up to the
Mm,
mark. They are not that great, and the response from Karza is quite quick to the clients. So in India itself, we have 300 plus clients already just for
mm,
face match, and there are other clients for other things. Just as a side thing, like one of my colleague yesterday only told me that there's one client who was
Mm-hmm.
arguing to Karza that we are not getting this much response and we are facing some issues in the services. He actually switched the services and tried services from other startups, and 6 months down the line, he's back with Karza again.
Mm-hmm.
mm. Yeah.
So
Actually, one thing, Devayan, uh, it's like a common trend, right? Most people, so saying that what is different is again re-emphasizing the idea. Whereas you can play in the same space and be very successful with an already existing idea, as long as maybe your execution is different, your approach is different, something else is
No,
different.
that is different,
Yeah.
right? Exactly. That's what my question is. I'm not saying the idea has to be different, but even if the
Yeah,
same
yeah, yeah.
idea, the execution, there has to be something significantly different, right? And
so
especially
Yeah,
with
in fact, actually, certain sectors, everything can be same and you can still exist and you can be successful.
Boat. You can think of Boat by Aman Gupta.
Yeah,
yeah,
Already a lot of players are there, but
yeah,
Boat still got success.
that's a different thing, right? Because in
yeah.
those sectors, usually like you don't have the capacity to match the demand. There's a mismatch between supply and demand, essentially.
So I think I understood what you are trying to look out for. So see, what happened is Kaza started 7 years ago. It's not like it started 2, 3 years ago. So 7 years ago, there was very few startups who were actually doing solving this
Hmm.
problem.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
but still, I will say till 2019, they were not doing so great. But this COVID hit, right?
Hmm.
And after the COVID, everyone actually wanted to go to digitalization, and all the banks and all these financial institutions were looking out for solutions, and this gave them a really good boost
Yeah,
because
exactly. I was going to say that. Like opening of like digital, like investing and all of that became such a big thing, right? Grow up, like
yeah,
open basically. And then
yeah.
that's why I was curious because they needed eKYC. We've tried
Yeah.
that. And I was surprised if like in this space, isn't there an existing player?
Who are the other players?
Yeah.
There are players like Amazon, then this Hyperverge is another player. Then there are, I think,
Oh, Amazon does eKYC. I didn't know this.
not eKYC, but they have different solutions like a separate API for face recognition, separate API for detection.
Cognitive services essentially.
Yeah, yeah. They have those
Microsoft way
services.
technically. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Azure, right?
Yeah. Azure.
Mm.
Yeah. There's also SignZ, I think SignZ is the
Mm.
name of
Mm-hmm.
the company. They also offer similar services. So there are quite a few startups that
Acha.
those are doing it. Yeah.
Mm.
Cool, man. Awesome. Thanks, Vinit, for doing this. I think it's an amazing, like, awesome discussion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Such an
Like
amazing variety. And like when we started off, I think you were nervous, है ना?
a lot, a lot.
At the
Yeah.
end of it, you're like, एक और story बताता हूँ, एक और example दे रहा हूँ, रुक जाओ.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Yeah.
one feeling that all of our guests have actually left with.
And that was
Most,
very fulfilling, basically.
yeah,
That sort of
everybody's
validated it,
always
right? Why
wanted to
we're
kind
like,
of share more.
yeah, why
So
you're doing
that
it.
has
Yeah.
obviously like validated that we are doing a half decent job at least, and
Yeah.
that this is a good thing. Thanks for doing this. I think we're going to end the session over here, and hopefully we have an episode 2 discussing more nuances of a lot of other things that we talked
Yeah.
about today.
Yeah.